Hi everybody, welcome to Control on Compete. Today we're joined by Alex Hirbe from PlayVS. Alex, how are you?
Good, how are you doing, James?
Good.
Thank you so much for being here.
So that's not a Scottish accent, right?
No, not at all.
So you've came here for FaZe for the esports conference this weekend, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And whereabouts did you travel from then?
Coming from Kansas City.
Right. And is this your first time in Scotland?
First time in Scotland, yes.
And is it what you thought it would be?
So far, I've been here about 4.5 hours, and so it looks just like the pictures so far.
What, the sunny pictures?
Yeah, sunny pictures. Yeah, I was expecting a lot of rain and cloud cover, but it's been great.
I think
weather.
the rain's going to come this weekend, so you'll get to experience that as well.
Great.
So Alex, tell me a bit about your background then. So from PlayVS, so you're coming here to speak about the esports conference. I know you're massive with esports and education, but you started off as a teacher, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
So tell me about like how you got into teaching and then your transition into esports.
Yeah, so I started teaching and taught for 10 years in the classroom. I taught a bunch of different stuff in what we would call career and technical education, so wood shop, manufacturing, metal shop.
I always enjoyed that class.
Good, yeah, good. Well, I'll teach you a couple things. But then also I did a lot of computer things as well. Okay. So I did computer science, game development, 3D modeling and animation. And through that, I really got into training teachers on the better use of technology. And so when I started working at a second school district after my first, I took a job as a technology trainer for teachers, okay. As well as a computer science and shop teacher. So almost the same thing, but with even more responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And that's when esports kind of started to kind of pop up in the U.S. Is around that time, and I was asked to start an esports program at our high school, and found the Gaming Concepts curriculum and kind of began working through that, and in conversations with the writers of the Gaming Concepts curriculum, actually started working there. I was giving them feedback on the curriculum, and they pretty much asked if I wanted to work there and help implement these changes. And the rest is history. So now I'm a co-author on that curriculum.
So like where do you think it started off in the US then? And when do you think it kicked off, like into education? Because I'm very interested in the timeline around the world of who's at what level of esports and how long they've been doing it for. So when do you think it started?
2019. In 2019, we were one of the first programs in Kansas, mm-hmm. Which is right in the center of the country. But there have been programs, esports programs, for years prior to that. So anywhere from, I would say, 2010 on is kind of where esports is kind of starting to be seen at the academic level, but not in terms of an actual course, which is kind of more of my function. It's always going to be the club type or after-school activity, mm-hmm. for esports. Recently, in the past 5 years, is when it's really started to take hold in large districts, small districts, as a course that you would take during the school day. Okay. And that is really exciting to watch because, as you being a gamer and into esports, yep. you can see the benefits that esports can have. And when you can put that into a classroom setting with a teacher, you can see how it connect even more bridges for students.
And so at what level, like obviously in Scotland, we've got primary school, secondary school, mm-hmm. and then you go to college, and then university. So at what level is esports getting integrated in the US? Is it starting to like what level are we talking?
We're not quite to kindergarten yet, but it is going low. We actually just finished our first elementary school book, so that's going to be students that are going to be around 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And so currently we have curriculum and integration for schools in the U.S. from 8 years old through 18. Mm-hmm. And so you have all the way through primary school, secondary school, mm-hmm. and then even handing them off into some of the collegiate levels, some other different types of offerings.
That's awesome. And is there tournaments that happen through that as well? So as much as education side, is there like tournaments in those?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You have to have kind of an outlet, or you have to have kind of the backbone of esports with the curriculum.
So the kids can still have they know they're getting taught, right? But mm-hmm. like the tournament side is what they're wanting to do with their friends and they want to compete, and then you can take that and then do all the teaching around it. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you might have where. Very similar to traditional sports. You can't just practice the game, right? There has to be team building, there has to be kind of together time. There has to be, bonding, and all of that can take place in the classroom setting where students are learning how to be safe online. They can learn about expectations. They can learn about behaviors. All of that is beneficial to the team environment as they begin to compete either after school or even sometimes during school.
Yeah, because I think we done some regional tournaments for FAIS, right? So we ran some in the Scottish borders and we ran them in Fife. And I think the teachers, it was great for me to actually not just watch the kids. I've seen the kids play and having fun, right? You know that's a good bit. It was actually the teachers that were starting to see a difference. And even, okay, so you forget that when you're younger, maybe a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old, that's miles away. You know, you don't think about it, but you remember being back at school and the people that were even 1 year older than you looked at. So they were seeing a great, that these kids were actually engaging and talking to each other. They would maybe not talk to somebody younger or talk to somebody older, and they were talking about the teamwork, the communication. They were actually seeing it. I could just see the teachers clocking it and thinking, this is great. This could help me.
And not even for the age difference, but talking about those stereotypical cliques in a school, right? You might have you have your jocks and your popular kids and your different areas of students that typically cling together.
And society makes it like that. I mean, how many American movies do you see with the football team, the cheerleaders, and they kind of push it like that, right?
But when you get to esports, and in some of my talks, I'll talk about it this weekend at the conference. But I had a student that was a ghost through the building, right? You barely knew he was there, and this student ended up coaching our team through Valorant and basically directing some of the most popular kids were also in my class as well from the building. He was telling these kids what to do, and they became friends afterwards, right? Because of the bond that esports had brought to them.
And not just that, they become you probably find that these kids are very clued up, very clever, very competent.
Oh yes, yeah, but they just don't have an outlet, and nobody cares about what they care about, right? Because school is easy for the kids that can play the game. But the game of school.
But
the
game of life.
The game of life, right? But some students don't have that ability, right? But they do have the ability to do well in an online environment they have more control over, or feel that they have more control over. And so when you can make those connections and meet those kids where they're at, then they can really thrive in school and find a purpose in school again.
And a purpose in life, and I think that's the big thing is good being, I've seen a lot of kids going from being, say, 12 onwards, and that's like the most fragile times you would think for kids. Because they could maybe, they could go into deal with the wrong crowd, right? But I think if they've got clubs and they've got friends and they communicate, then it can really help. Do you think even more so now in the digital age when people are maybe at home and because of COVID, there's a lot more kids that are like that are growing up? Have you seen a change in? How long have you been teaching for? Sorry, so many questions.
No.
How long have you been teaching for?
I taught for 10 years before moving out of education. But I mean, I've been in education for the last 15 years.
Right, and so how would you say, or have you seen a difference in the way kids are?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Before COVID, you still had, and in the U.S., we've always had kind of a problem with disengagement and attendance issues, behavior issues. And
it happens all over,
it happens
right?
everywhere. But coming back from COVID, right, we see these students almost becoming deinstitutionalized, right? They've come back from COVID, and this is in the month, year or two afterwards, where they just can't handle norms anymore. They can't sit at a desk for 45 minutes, 90 minutes and do work. It has really changed how education is seen, as there's a lot more breaks, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot more activity and engagement that's being pushed because the students just can't handle it. Their brains have just completely rewired themselves for more freedom at home, more freedom to do as they will, more time on their phone. And
that's a big one.
And again, right, it's kind of they've lost the rules of school because of that break that happened.
That's so weird. I mean, you're probably only now starting to maybe, realise what that was, right? Because at the time you're just getting through it. We're all in like fight or flight mode. We're all getting through it, right? I mean, what was it like during COVID for you guys? I mean, do you think you've seen esports start to flourish more? I mean, like with kids at home, I mean, was there anybody that jumped in and said, well, all that stuff you've been talking about, Alex, is great. We could probably use that now?
Yeah, and we started, I mean, the curriculum really started to be adopted right at the tail end of COVID, right? It just wasn't ready yet. There weren't enough adopters to it because of how kind of, revolutionary this was, is, have a esports class during the day. Like, it's kind of an after school thing. But yeah, online tournament providers like ourselves at PlayVS, really saw a boost in enrollments, because kids are going to need to have that outlet, and they're going to be with their friends already, and at least they're doing some sort of kind of like sponsored activity with an adult through their esports team. But yeah, COVID was a wild thing, because there were some places where there were a lot of restrictions, and then some places where there weren't as many restrictions. And so you have a real kind of, as a country, hybrid model of in and out of person. And so having the online space for tournaments and for students to have that outlet was a real game changer.
And so you must have had, I mean, obviously when you think to the size of America, it's massive, right? So you had PlayVS and Generation Esports, was that right?
Yeah, that was
so
the previous
Generation
one.
Esports, so the company, the tournament side of it, yeah?
Yep.
So like how widespread are Generation Esports in the States then?
So Generation Esports,
You're all one now.
We're all one now,
Yep.
yeah. So Generation Esports, across the U.S., we had, several thousand teams with us. Same with PlayVS, right? We have several thousands teams with us, and it's just a behemoth of students, and which is great, because if it becomes too fractured, then it's hard to say with any kind of value behind it that you're the champion of Rocket League, or you're the national champion, right? Because if it's us and them, and company C, company D, company E, then there is no. Everyone can be the champion, right?
Yeah.
And so with consolidation, not everybody loves consolidation, but it really focuses to bring esports up into a real structured path for students, and to have a decided winner, for sure.
And so that must be a lot of admin work. And have you got, is it part of the system you've got that helps operate?
The system that we use is on some amazing tech in the background, always ensuring that students are placed with another competitor. We have an incredibly low forfeit rate or dropout rate, and also with the smart scheduler, it learns as you play. And so what's really amazing about that is that everyone starts out by playing each other randomly, so that the system knows you're a good team, and this is I'm not as a good team, right? And so the next match, we're going to get rematched up again, and the system will learn, so that it's going to start matching me after 2 matches, that I'm going to start getting matched up equally with a level of team that matches my ability.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So how much do you guys work with the developers, for example, or do you need to?
Closely.
Like, yeah, I was going to say.
Closely.
Because, yeah.
There's
Epic, like who else? Who do you guys work with?
Epic,
Mostly?
Psyonix, Minecraft, Nintendo, some of the biggest names.
Are they coming to you?
Blizzard.
Now?
Yeah, I mean we have people that are dedicated to each one of these partnership publishers, and we have very close relationships with them for custom maps, for lobbies, and for a couple of really cool features that are going to be coming out in 2026.
Awesome. That's because my little boy Jackson, he's 4 now, right? So I got a Legion Go. So I use that, and then he's playing Minecraft at the same time.
Yeah.
I was just telling the story in the office, and I build something now, right? And if I go to the toilet, he comes back, and he's just wrecked it all. But it's good, but he enjoys it, with creating bridges, and you can tell he's getting his creativity, and he loves it. It's Yeah.
Some of the best things that we've been working on recently, me being on the education side, is using our partnership with Minecraft Education for some really neat lessons that we've been building out with them.
Because they go out as well, don't they? They do the talks as well, don't they? They go around the world, Minecraft Education.
Minecraft Education, yep. And so we're building some lessons around stuff that they have, and also working closely with them on the tournament side to host Minecraft tournaments as well.
So you're really quite at the cutting edge. Are you always thinking of new ways that you can make it better and fine tune? I can tell you are.
Yeah, it's amazing that teaching seems like it's kind of a pigeonholed kind of career and profession, but I've used that training professionally now for the last 5 years or so into creating gaming concepts and kind of fleshing out some of these concepts and theories on education in the classroom around esports and gaming, and how you can build a career off of gaming, right? Which I would have never known was a thing even 6 years ago, right? It was before me until I started to get into it. And it's just been a fire hose of information and success.
So would you say that? Yeah. So would you say that you're leading then? I mean, you can say it if you want to, but where else in the world would you say that you would maybe look out to that are doing a good job as well? Like, where else in the world do you think are really making good esports and education?
It's hard because so many countries are in different places, right?
Yep.
If I'm talking specifically from an education component, I think the U.S. is with our company, and I know that's completely biased, but having been around the world and seen some of the lesson plans and things like that, they are lesson plans, right? And they're collections of lesson plans, and they seem kind of haphazard versus a structured, vertically aligned curriculum, right? Everyone on our team, the education team, are tenured teachers that have been in the profession for decades plus, and so we know the system, we know how it works, and we know how to write curriculum. And so it's a very different thing than lessons or activities. And I hate to say that I think the U.S. in terms of getting it in schools and for credit classes, I think they are doing the best job.
Yeah, because I think I can only speak for what I've seen in Scotland, but I think when esports gets brought into a school in Scotland, it's like, oh, give it to the IT guy, right? The IT guy's like, he's a gamer.
Yeah.
And I think that happens, and what happens as well is the teachers that are passionate about it, they have to do it then on top of their own job. So that doesn't really help as well. So whereas you've been given the freedom in the back end to go out and do this now, that's what it needs.
And that's what we try and do, because we know that sometimes districts are going to pitch this to a teacher or tell a teacher that they're going to be doing this, and they have no interest in it, okay? I didn't have a ton of interest in it when I was asked to do it. And so what we do, because we know that teachers' most valuable resource is time, and so that's why we save all of the time by doing all the stuff on the back end. So we script all the lessons. Everything is completely curated for you with discussion prompts, questions, activities, the lecture, the slot, everything is provided for you, as well as all of the standards to line it up in your country or state are all provided and done for you by us, so that all you have to do is get back to your craft of teaching.
So what kind of feedback have you had then from teachers that said, like, once maybe like they've been converted, right? What kind of things that you've seen that teachers have came back and said to you?
I mean, it is across the board positive, right? So teachers are so thankful that this is something that has
the kids will listen to.
This is something the kids will listen to. You know, we have and we have studies and we have data behind it, but it's like, we are seeing increases in engagement, increases in attendance, increases in GPA, and then also
what's GPA then?
Grade point average.
Okay.
So their achievement in school for their marks, and then also an increase in mental health as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, especially we were talking before about people being isolated and then getting out there.
Yeah, and we saw the benefit that we knew the benefit was there, right? We had a theory, right? As an education team, we knew that this was happening, but we weren't quite sure. So in 2021, we embarked on doing a study that's actually been published in a medical journal on how gaming concepts in our curriculum can increase students' self-esteem scores by as much as 8% in some cohorts.
And what is that? Is that just about giving them something that they're good at and them seeing, being able to express what they're good at and showing what they're good at?
Yeah, because there's Christy Custer, Dr. Christy Custer, one of our head authors, says it best, and I'm going to muck it up, but there's a cyclical kind of thing that happens in a student's brain, and it says, I am good at esports is in school, I am good at school. Right? And so if you can be good at just one thing, then you can see that light, you can see that success and have that taste of success, and lose that fear of failure, where you've developed a safe space, and these students can really flourish and blossom because they have this kind of cornerstone now in their education journey.
And if they're getting used to going to school, then it helps them maybe take on something
100%,
else, right?
yeah. Even if it gets them in the door, right, and they
friends,
are halfway paying attention, right, just getting them there is half the battle, because once they're there, they will learn something. Their ears can't be turned off, right? And so just getting there is beneficial in itself.
And so then, obviously, once again, when I come back to Scotland, sometimes you hear horror stories of, I say horror stories because I'm a gamer, but like the teacher will bring in their old PlayStation 1 for a class because they can't, maybe not have money in some schools, right? Yeah. What's it like regarding, what kind of setups have the schools got in the US? It varies?
It varies everywhere, right? It depends on how much money you've got to spend on a program, right? Some schools and some districts are going to be, have a multi-million-dollar esports arena ready to go, and they're all in. Other schools are playing board games, right? Our curriculum and all of our processes work across the board with either, right?
Excellent. So whatever, so you can adjust it to
whatever you have, right?
Yeah.
We have kids that are doing board games. We have kids that have one switch in the room with 12 kids, 20 kids, and they rotate. It's just kind of getting started with what you can get started with, and then once you can show that, then people start to tend to put money towards it, right? The school might start seeing that this is promising, this is, showing some benefit, maybe we can kick in some more money, maybe the teachers can get some grants from places, but it does vary wildly on what schools have, for sure.
And so once they've got their esports set up, what other ways do schools start to even monetize that? I mean, do you do after school clubs, like what does that look like in the States?
Absolutely, yeah. So after school clubs are sometimes hard to get money for if the district isn't providing it, or the school isn't providing it. So that's where we really encourage teachers to reach out to local businesses to sponsor some of their things, right? So it's just the same as if you'd have a football match and you'd be mentioning the local insurance agent or car rental.
Because I'm sure there's big employers that are close by to every town,
utilities or whatever. And so they're always keen to do, American football games, there's ads everywhere at the high school level around the stadium, right? And even announced sometimes over the intercom. And so esports can be a same model for that, right? They can sponsor these kind of events. There can be outreach and parent support, community support is a couple of ways that they can get money.
Because out in the States as well, the football clubs, the big NFL clubs are not just like clubs. I mean, they do insurance as well, right? They do funerals of some of the people. So in a sense, they're the heart of the city. They do everything. These clubs as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, everyone's wanting to get their name out there somewhere, and esports is definitely a way for sponsorships and way for businesses to do that.
And what would you say then regarding these big football clubs? How much do these clubs integrate with esports then? What have you seen with the traditional sports, in the States?
So we have a couple of partnerships. One with the National Hockey League, and another one with
seen that actually.
Another one with the National Football League.
Okay.
And it's weirdly, and I say that, it's weirdly successful, right? We did one in New Jersey a couple of months back, and set up an esports section at the hockey game, and it was full the whole time,
like
right?
Fan zones.
Yeah, fan zones, right? Fan zones, and you're playing kind of the game that your parents might be watching, right? Because the kids are all going to be there, and the parents are all in the stands watching the actual game. But it's just a way to, continue to educate kids on, you're at the hockey game or you're at a football game, and it's just another, community building place, right? You might find a new friend next to you, or, you might learn something new in a game you're playing, or, pick up some, some good characteristics from a stranger.
And the football teams and the hockey teams will hope that when these kids get older, they might then start to come to the games themselves, right?
Yeah, you had a good time there. It's all about bringing people back. It's all about the return on the investment.
I've never been to America, sorry. I've never been to like one of the big NBA games, but they always look like fantastic events.
Yeah, hugely fun. Obviously, like, thousands and thousands of people. And so if you can build that positive experience for somebody at a younger age, then they can recall that and say, oh, I want to go back, or I want to keep doing that.
And what are the gaming festivals like out in the States? I think you get DreamHack. Is it DreamHack Dallas? You can get.
Yeah, there's a couple of DreamHacks. Yeah, the gaming festivals are also wild. Thousands and thousands of people. They're huge events, and I think that it just aids its notoriety to the U.S. trying to really push itself out as an esports leader in making this a relevant and legitimate thing that isn't beneficial to people and beneficial to students, right? I know for so long it's kind of been, I know Saudi Arabia is trying to build out as that's the esports, kind of mecca right there, right?
And golf and
everything, right? They're trying to do that. That's fine, but they can keep the esports World Cup. That's fine. Like that's their thing.
Are you jealous?
No.
Okay.
No. Let them have it. That's fine.
Fair enough.
That's fine. But
you might tour it.
Yeah, say again.
They might tour it. You never know.
That's right. They might tour it around. Yeah. And and South Korea is such a huge esports. With StarCraft 2 and everything in League of Legends down there. But I think in terms of like legitimizing it as like a real thing, everyone's trying to do it, and we're putting it into schools. I think that the U.S. is leading the way on that.
Yeah, and I think education in esports is definitely where it needs to be as well, because I think, even when you come to the amateur level, it's quite difficult sometimes for kids to get teams together, right? So if you're doing amateur esports, right, and say they're maybe 16 to 21, you need to have that one person that's driving it, who's almost captain, to kind of make it. Whereas with school, the kids are already there. They've got the classes, you've got your brand, you've got your school. So
and that's such a important thing that you brought up, is that oftentimes you might get that one champion teacher that wants to do it and is gung-ho about it, but adding that to a teacher's plate can only be for so long before they get burned out. And then once that teacher leaves, whether they wanted to or it's just too much for them or whatever, that program usually dies, right? And so esports is done, right? However, if you bring it into the schools, into the school day, it's a curriculum, or it's a course, then there's a teacher on the books for that, and then it stays.
Job opportunities, and that's only going to get better as well, because there's maybe, like, for example, in traditional sports, when people pass their playing career, they might go into broadcast, they might go into commentary, for example. People might then, that are ex players, come into teaching, and they can start teaching schools as well.
And that's exactly what we try and do, is because we don't, the curriculum, to be clear, we don't teach anybody how to play video games. Kids know how to do that already. What we do is focus on those careers, right? And so it's like, maybe you do want to go into broadcast or streaming or content creation or networking, or any myriad of professions that can come out of esports, because esports and gaming really is kind of a diving board, and you're jumping into literally almost any career, because you could be in, like I said, those tech careers, but you could also be in wellness, you could be in law, you could be in physical therapy, marketing, a million things. So and we try and cater to that, and kind of branch kids out through experiencing those things, and so that they kind of know or have had some immersion in those things.
And so what would then, you've been doing this now in a sense, teaching for 15 years, what have you seen, for example? Is there any kids that you've seen that have came through the course and have went on to do X, Y, and Z? Have you got any kind of stories or testimonials?
It's hard. It's hard to get those kids after they leave high school, right? Because then they go off to a million different places. But we do know that, because he's kept in contact, one of our other authors, a student that was in his class, he worked for Blizzard for a while, and has helped on some, I believe, World of Warcraft levels or areas. And then other students have moved on to get esports scholarships at the universities that they go to. But a lot of them are just better acclimated to being successful in the collegiate field or going into the workforce because of the skills that they were being developed with the curriculum.
Because you think back to when the curriculum first got written, things have changed so much now, right? There's so many people now with maybe ADHD, dyslexia, and we're starting to see all these things that we've never seen before. So all the curriculum that was made back then, it doesn't fit everybody now, right?
No, and that's something else that
that's the biggest problem, right?
That and everything changing, right? So a lot of things in the gaming space have changed, in the last 10 years or so. The first version of the curriculum was written in 2016. And so, yes, a lot of massive changes have happened in the last 9 years. And so we rewrite it every few years. It's completely rewritten. And so it's always fresh and new, based on what we're seeing from feedback from students and teachers, and based on what trends are doing.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to ask you one last thing, right? So I won't put you in the spot, but did you game at all as a kid then?
Oh, yes.
So what did you like?
Oh my gosh. When I was growing up, and I just got them on the Switch, actually, Metal Gear Solid was my game.
Yep.
And I absolutely loved it. And then after Metal Gear Solid, then I got really into Vice City.
Okay.
So if there was a scholarship for Grand Theft Auto, I think I definitely would have gotten that.
Well, do you know what? Rockstar have got an office in Edinburgh. They've got one in Dundee, right? So and there's always like Easter eggs of Scotland in your Grand Theft Auto game. So yeah, maybe you'll see some when you're here.
There we go. Awesome.
Awesome. Listen, Alex, pleasure, buddy. I could speak to you all day. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.